Hi everyone, my name is Ali Ehsan. I am registered migration agent. I'll be taking today's session. So before I start, everyone who has joined just now, I just want request you to wait for a few minutes. Let some other people join, and then we'll start today's session. So just to introduce myself once again, my name is Ali Ehsan, and I'm registered migration agent at Aussizz Group, Bankstown. So just allow a couple of minutes for more people to join, and then we will start. Thank you. So everyone, I hope you can see my screen now. So today's live session is about New South Wales, New South Wales 190, 491, recent invitation rounds, and I'll go through the requirements as well. So anyone who is interested in NSW 190 or 491 options, or is living in NSW or is planning to move to NSW, this session will be very helpful for them. I'll be discussing about current allocation for skilled migration, 190 visa, 491 visa, their requirements, and I'll be focusing on recent nomination rounds for both subclasses 190 and 491, and I'll share my thoughts and future outlook that what do we think will be the future of NSW invitation rounds. So there has been positive updates, especially in this week, where NSW did conduct 190 invitation round, and I'll be shedding more light on that soon. So so let's get started now. Before we proceed to the round, so just I want to give you a glance of what has happened. So previously, Australian migration programming levels, which were introduced initially or which were announced initially, were increased from last year, and that increase was, if you see here in the in this chart, you'll be able to see that skill independent visa, there was 156% increase. State territory nominated, there was around 78% increase. Regional visas, there was around 123% increase. So all of these visas, as compared to 2021, 2022, allocation got increased by 10,000 or 15,000 for both of the visas initially. So I'm talking about the early budget, which was announced for July. Now, from that number, there was, of course, we were expecting positive news from different states and different regions. And in response to that, a lot of states and regions we've seen, they changed their requirements, and they made it a lot easier for offshore and onshore applicants to apply for 190 or 491. Now, in October budget, there was a further update in this migration planning levels. Now, the revised planning level for next year is 140. So we have 142,400 places for skilled stream visas, so which accounts for 70% of total migration intake. Now, this was a further jump from if we compare it with 2021, 2022. So that was a further jump from that, where the number was 79,600. So if you compare skilled visas for last year and this year, you can see it's around 80%, 90% change just in skilled visa category. Now, out of that, most of the seats went to state-sponsored visas or regional-sponsored visas, which I'll be discussing today. Now, these were the planning levels which which were updated in after October budget. So if you see here, 21-22, it was 6,500 only, and for 189, and it got increased to 32,000. For regional visas, it was 11,000 and got increased to 34,000. So which is 3 times. Then state territory nomination, it was 11,200 and got increased to 31,000. So this is the new planning level that we have recently received from NSW. Sorry for the background noise. I think there is some work ongoing. I'll see if it stays. I'll just repeat what I'm saying. Okay, so skill independent, as I said, got increased from 6,500 to 32,000. Regional got increased from 11,000 to 34,000, and state territory got increased from 11,200 to 31,000. Now, this is a significant increase as comparing to last year. Now, of course, all the states or regions are expected to get this share out of it as well. Now, the visa options that we are looking here today are skilled visas. So there are 4 visas, as most of you will be aware: skill independent, skill nominated, skilled regional, or family sponsor. Now, I'm today talking about skilled nomination visa subclass 190 or for 491 skilled work regional visa. Now, these are the basic eligibility criteria. So minimum 60 you need for 190 is minimum points you need is 65. You must be under 45 years of age. You must have at least a competent level of English. You should have suitable skills assessment, and you must be nominated by Australian state or territory. Now, once you meet the requirements, you lodge EOI with state, they invite you. And once you receive invitation, then you lodge visa, and then you lodge application further. For 491, process is similar. Minimum requirements are similar. It's just that you get 15 additional points from regional as compared to 5 points for state sponsorship. Age criteria, English minimum criteria, skills assessment criteria is same. Now, the visa is not direct PR. It's a 5 years visa. Once you get it, you have to live and work in regional area for at least 3 years, earn 53,900 per year for at least 3 years, and then you can apply for 191 visa, which is eventually a permanent visa. Now, let's talk about NSW specifically. So before I go into recent invitation rounds and recent trends, I would like to, I will just briefly explain you what are the requirements in NSW to become eligible for 190 or 491. Now, 190 nomination criteria currently that NSW has is that you must ensure that you are eligible for this visa subclass. Now, the requirements that they are referring to here are the same requirements I discussed earlier, which means age, English, skills assessment, the basic criteria, and minimum points 60 plus 5 that you get from state. Now, in addition to that, your occupation has to be on the list, and you should also meet basic eligibility criteria, which include points, which include occupation, and minimum work experience requirement. Now, this year, NSW has made this a major change as compared to last year. Now, currently, they have minimum points requirement against each occupation and minimum work experience requirement against each occupation. Now, if you are meeting those requirements, you can expect to receive invite from NSW. However, we have seen some changes in that. They are not published yet, but in invitation rounds, we have seen some relaxation in those rules, which I'll be discussing in coming slide. Then there is another requirement that you must be living in NSW for at least 6 months, or you must be living offshore for at least 6 months. So anyone living in NSW or living offshore can apply for this subclass. there is no such requirement that you must be living in NSW only. You can be living offshore as well. But if you are living in another state, you cannot apply for NSW. You'll have to first move to NSW, live here for 6 months, and then you are eligible to apply for 190. You'll have to, so the process is that you lodge EOI and ensure that all information in that is accurate, and NSW will invite you from the EOI that you have lodged, and make sure the EOI is lodged for NSW 190 only. Now, this is the data that we collected from our Aussizz NSW office for recent invitation round. That was conducted early this week on Tuesday. So the invitations that we have received, we have divided into groups as as NSW has done as well. So starting with accountants, so the published requirement is that they must have at least 110 points. However, we did receive invitation at 105 points as well. So that's one thing that is good news for accountants, especially who have same points like 105. They can expect invitations in coming rounds based on this data. Now, of course, published requirements are still the same. So we cannot say that if same thing will continue in coming rounds, but at least for this round, we have seen deviation from, we have seen changes as compared to previous rounds. Now, advertising and marketing professionals. Now, this occupation includes advertising specialists, marketing specialists, and other marketing professionals. They have received invitation at 95 points. So, and date of effect was around early November. So now, please note these points include state nomination points as well. So applicant who received invite at 95 points means that he or she had 90 points of their own, plus they got 5 points from state and they received invitation. Civil engineering professionals, again, we have seen invitation at 95 points, which is 90 points of applicant's own and 5 points from state. Now, in civil engineering professionals group, basically the requirement was 100 points. So this is where again NSW invited applicants with 5 points less. Electrical engineers were invited. Then ICT business and systems analysts, we received invitation at 100 points. Now again over here, as that experience requirement for NSW is at least 2 years for this group. However, we have seen invitations where applicants had more than 1 year and less than 2 years work experience. So again, positive news for ICT, IT applicants that if they have 1 year experience and they can reach 100 points, I believe then this is a very good option for them now. Then multimedia specialists and web developers, we have seen invitations at 100 points. Now, again, I'll repeat, these points include state nomination point, 5 points from state nomination as well. Okay. So other than that, we have also seen invitations for database and system administrators and ICT security specialists at 100 points with meeting minimum experience requirement, and architect, draft person or similar occupations at 90 points. Now, motor mechanics, we have received invitation at 95 points, and bakers and pastry cooks, etc. They have even received invitation at 80 points. Now, I would like to bring your attention to most of the occupations here where we have seen NSW either dropping their points criteria or dropping their work experience criteria, specifically talking about ICT occupations and engineering occupations. So if someone is from engineering background or ICT background, they can expect that NSW might lower its requirements, which can, and you can expect an invite. I will especially, focus on applicants who are currently working in their nominated occupations in NSW and can reach, let's say, 100 points or 95 points in next 3 months, 6 months, in my opinion, their chances will be more in coming days to get invite, looking into the current trends of, the last invitation round. Now, in addition to that, don't forget that seat allocation, or allocation for 190 or 491 also got increased. Now, there is no update from NSW on that if they have received additional quota or not. But we do expect that, because number has gone up, they might receive more seats in future, which can then further result in lowering of these requirements. So this is the current trend what we have seen for 190 visa. Now 491 basic eligibility criteria is either you must be it's regional NSW based direct pathway, or applying directly to an RDA office, or or you must be invited by NSW, investment NSW. Now, in my last session, a few weeks back, I discussed these options in detail. You can refer to that presentation as well to get more information, but I'll be highlighting basic criteria in this too. Now, regional based NSW based direct pathway is that you have to meet basic criteria published on Home Affairs website. Then you must be living and working in nominated occupation in regional area of NSW and have continuously done so for the past 12 months with same employer for a minimum of 20 hours per week. Now, there are 3-4 important things here. First is that your work has to be in designated regional area. It has to be continuous for past 12 months. Same employer, and for minimum 20 hours per week. Now, if you are not meeting any of the criteria, you can get refusal from NSW, as we have seen in few cases in the past. You should have a valid skills assessment, and your occupation list should be there on the NSW regional skill list published on NSW's website. Now, there is another requirement in this pathway is that you must be paid at least 53,900 per annum, full-time equivalent, excluding super. So what we have seen is NSW is very strict about this criteria, and if you are working less than 40 hours, let's say you're working around 20 hours, then we have to calculate this on pro rata basis. Now, generally, as per our calculation, it's coming up to somewhere around $27. 27.2, 27.3, or 20. So somewhere between 27 and 28, but definitely above 27 to or below 28. So if you are earning that much amount per hour, generally you will qualify, but of course, each case is different, and we have to calculate that manually to advise you. Now, in this, you apply directly to RDA office, where you want to work for next 3 years. Now, pathway 1 is where you apply directly to RDA. Now, again, so for this, unlike previous years, RDAs do not have their own occupation list, or they do not have different requirements. So you still have to satisfy the requirements published on NSW government's website. If you are meeting those requirements, you apply to respective RDA office. Now, RDAs this year do not have individual occupation list as such, or individual requirements like it used to be a few years back. So this year, all the requirements across all regions for this pathway will remain the same. Now, there is one exception for applicants who have completed 2-year study in regional NSW. They can get exemption for work experience criteria, but they still have to meet minimum points criteria if they are applying under this pathway. Pathway 2 is basically where you get invitation directly from NSW. Now, in this case, you again, you ensure that you are eligible, your visa subclass is there. Then you meet basic eligibility criteria, which is again same, minimum points requirement, minimum work experience requirement. And if you are living in Australia, you must be living in NSW for at least 3 months. Or if you are living offshore, you must have done so for at least 3 months as well. So this pathway, we have seen invitations to onshore as well as offshore applicants. Now, talking about recent invitation rounds and the trend that we have seen, again, advertising marketing specialists, onshore and offshore, did receive invite at 95 points. Registered nurses did receive invitation. Now we received invitation for accountants at 115 points. Early childhood teachers, business systems analyst at 110 points. Now again, these points include regional sponsor points, 15 points from region as well. Then ICT business and systems analysts, software application programmers with 110 points. Database administrators and ICT security specialists at 110 points. ICT support and test engineers at 105 points. Cooks and contract and program administrators at 105 points. Now, anyone with these profiles who are either in Australia or overseas received invite irrespective of their residence. Now, unlike other states, for example, Western Australia, where they are giving preference to onshore applicants, NSW, for their criteria, if someone is meeting the criteria, whether they are in Australia or offshore, they are equally likely to get invitation from NSW. So I encourage applicants, especially who are offshore, to consider NSW for 190 or 491 if they are meeting the minimum eligibility criteria. And because looking into these rounds, we can definitely be hopeful that NSW will invite further applicants. Now, to end, I will say, to summarize, there are, and of course, we are expecting more rounds here as well. So this is just the data from last month. Now, to summarize it for everyone, I believe with the recent rounds that happened in NSW for 190, we can definitely see positive signs for IT occupation, even for accountants and for engineers. Now, other occupations have already been in demand. They were not much impacted by changes in NSW. But what we are seeing this year is, from now on, is that NSW has started giving more relaxation in terms of points and work experience criteria. Going further, we are expecting that NSW might lower these requirements further, and applicants, especially who can reach 95 points, including straight points, and have work experience, can have good chances in NSW from these streams. So if you are currently living and working in NSW and you can get high points, my suggestion will be to target 190 in NSW. If you cannot meet high points criteria, you can consider work option in regional NSW to apply for 491 and still keep on targeting 190 side by side. So that's all from today's session. I just wanted to brief all of you about recent changes and positive news, especially for applicants living in NSW. So if you have any questions, you have all details given here. And I also encourage you to leave your questions in the chat box, comment box, or you can leave a session on, if you're watching us on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can leave your questions there and I'll take question one by one from there. So Saif has asked that he is living and working as engineering technologist for almost 10 months with the same employer, meeting all the criteria, and he's finishing experience in 2 months. Now, Saif, if yes, and your points are also, you're meeting minimum points criteria as well. So in my opinion, your chances of getting invites will be very good after 2 months, because what we have seen is that all the backlog that we had related to applicants, like whoever is getting eligible receives an invite in the next round or the round after. So NSW is picking up applicants really soon, and turnaround time is very less, generally 1 or 2 months, that we have hardly seen for any occupation where you are meeting minimum eligibility criteria. So my suggestion will be to continue living and working there, and apply for NSW direct, NSW regional based direct pathway once you have completed 12 months of your employment. Now make sure that you do meet income requirement of 53,900 per year. So Sridhar, you have asked that you are at 90 points for ICT BA with 3 years experience. So Sridhar, the last invite that we have received until now is at 100 points for ICT BA, which is around 10 points, which is 10 points less where you stand. Now, of course, you meet work experience criteria. However, you do not meet point criteria as of now. But as I said, we have seen few occupations where applicants were invited at where they had 5 to 10 points less in their nominated occupation. Okay, so considering that, you might have option in future, but I will also recommend you to try to increase your points from 95 to 100. But as of today, as per published criteria, you might not be eligible. So, Mursaleen, thank you for asking the question. Now, you mentioned that you have skills assessment as engineering technologist and other engineering professional. You have recently started working in NSW. So your points are currently 90. Now, as you're aware, that current points requirement in NSW is 100 for this. But since you have started working in NSW, consider options of increasing your points. Like maybe if you haven't done NATI or PY, if you can enroll in that, you can increase your points. And of course, once you'll complete 1 year experience, you'll have 5 further points from there. So if you can increase your points, of course, experience points will be added into that as well. Your chances will increase in future. Now, I would say, we'll have to wait for a few more rounds and, NSW requirements to say anything concrete on that, because the gap is 10 points. So it's not like 5 points for where, we can say that, yes, your chances can be higher in coming rounds. Yeah, so Sam, we have actually received invite for one of our clients from ICT where they did not have any work experience. Now, although NSW had experience requirement for that occupation, but invitation was issued even without experience. So that shows that, in future, NSW can lower its requirements for other ICT occupations. You can wait for a few more rounds here now and see the trend, but you'll have to look for that carefully. If this continues for a couple of rounds and then NSW updates its occupation list and points requirement, which NSW can do anytime as per the their published guidelines, you can have higher chances here. Raza, yes, we do assist clients from Australia and overseas both. So, Tharusha, you mentioned that you have 80 points and you are working as junior network engineer. So first, and you have already completed 10 months. So my first advice to you, of course, I'm not sure about your overall profile, But my general advice to you will be to at least complete 1 year experience here, because then you can have 5 more points. So if you move somewhere else right now, you might lose those 5 points as well. And at the same time, you mentioned you have 80 points. So I believe you will have room to increase your points. So let's say you can try for naughty, you can try for higher English score. If you haven't done professional year, you can look for that. If you are married or you have a de facto partner, you can look for partner skills assessment, or you can look for partners, English score. So my advice will be to complete 1 year experience, and then if still you cannot reach high points, then you can consider moving, because, or if you have job somewhere else in other states, then you can consider moving now as well. So Mursaleen, you are missing 5. You have asked the question again. So you will be getting 5 points from age next year June, and you will have further 5 points for your employment as well in 1 year. So considering that, you will be at 100 points. Now, I would say just wait for few more rounds in NSW, because we have seen invitations at 100 points. Now, the only part is experience requirement. Now, that NSW might change that as well, because you have a job, you have high points. So you can wait here for a few more rounds and see where the trend is going. And of course, you can reach out to me and we can discuss that. So there is another question on, I believe it's on YouTube. So Sunny has asked that if any manufacturer with 65 points for NSW have a chance for invite. Yes, Sunny, I believe yes, because the current requirement for NSW is 65 points. So if you are, what we have, the trend that we have seen until now is, if you are meeting the minimum published criteria, you have high chances of getting invite. So, Sayed, the skilled visas that I was discussing today were 190 and 491. Both have age limit of 45. If you are above 45, there are certain options that you can consider, but they are very limited. Let's say you can consider global talent visa if you believe that you have exceptional talent and you have experience in the target sectors, and and you have got some exceptional achievement in those fields. For that, age requirement is 55 years. Or if not, then in employer sponsored visa 186, in certain cases you can get age exemption, but of course every case is different. But other than that, you can go for 482 visa, where there is no age limit requirement, but then that is not PR by itself, but it allows you to live and work here, but you'll need an employer to sponsor you for that. Michael, so look, EOI, submitting EOI is not, so the question that Michael asks is for all of you, is that he is not meeting minimum criteria. So does he submit EOI? In my opinion, with my experience, definitely yes, you should submit EOI. There is no harm in submitting EOI, because that's your expression of interest. You're just telling state that you are interested in migrating to this state. Now, state will only invite you if they believe you are best fit for them, or you are meeting their minimum criteria. Now, if you have lodged EOI and state does not invite you, that's not a refusal. So there is a common misunderstanding. People think that if they have lodged EOI and they are not invited, that will be considered a refusal. So I just want to clear that no, it's not a refusal, or you do not get a ban or any negative impact just because you have lodged EOI. So I'm just waiting for some more questions. Okay. So again, I will just recap everything that I said. So people who can, or applicants, aspirants who are planning to apply for NSW 190 or 491, who can get high points and have employment specifically, have very high chances of getting invite in NSW, looking into the current trends. I will recommend you to, if you are 5 points short or 10 points short, still try to increase points, lodge your UI, be in the queue, and the invitation rounds that we've seen in this week is optimistic for IT applicants, for engineers. And we can also see that because a lot of people have moved out of NSW now, so the competition will be comparatively less where it was 6 months back or where it was last year. So I wish all of you best of luck. Okay, I've got just, I think, few more questions. Okay, so I'll just answer this one last question and then I'll end the session. So Kirandeep has asked that he's project manager with 80 plus 5 points with no work experience, any chances? Kirandeep, considering current trends, I think you are short of 10 points at least, and you do not have work experience. No, I'm aware that NSW is not asking for work experience in this occupation, but I will highly recommend you to increase your points. With this profile, other states might be better options for you if you cannot increase your points or if you cannot get job in NSW. So thank you everyone for joining. I wish all of you best of luck. And if you have any questions or queries in future, you can reach out to us on these numbers. So we have branches of NSW in Sydney, Parramatta, and Bankstown. And of course, you can reach out to any nearest branch in Australia, and our team will be able to help you there. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. I believe this session was helpful for all of you, and I look forward to meeting you in future. If you have any questions or queries, you can always feel free to contact us. Thank you again, everyone, for joining.